So, I first got involved with NASJA in 1994 when I hosted the NASJA conference that's up at Ski 93. And it was a deep dive into the organization and really learned about everything that the organization does from hosting it and all the writers that I met that I had known but didn't know they were part of this ISWA / NASJA organization. And over the years, I'm a proud member, and I tell everybody that I'm a proud member. And every time I bump into anybody who's blogging, that's podcasting, I ask them, please join. And of course, they always say, why? And I say, because we need you. We need you to join. We need these voices as part of us. We need that fresh angle look at publishing on how to do that. And all of us, I think, need to think about how LinkedIn is your blog, how Insta is your show off of photographs, how Facebook is your long form reach. When I think of all those platforms, because I'm old, I think of them as radio stations, and each radio station has a specific audience, and I direct all of my messages very at those audiences. And I think that's the way, and having self-published a number of books and all different articles, and it's amazing to me just how my one ski tip article every week in Montana, how that travels and where that goes online. And there, in that little newspaper in Big Sky, Montana, every week's like, we're amazed at the clicks on where that goes. I think sometimes we think we need to be with the biggest publisher. We don't. We just need to be published and then have a good strategy to spread that word. And these days it's so important, I think, to really re-engage everybody with skiing, snowboarding, tubing, snowshoeing, the whole works on being outside, because there's such a wave of being outside. My plug for Ski History Week as part of the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame piece of it is that every year we're inducting, in the last couple of years, 2 classes a year because of COVID. So there was like 18, 19 people at a time. Now we're back to 8, 9 people at a time. But we are setting the table for some amazing stories year in and year out, and awesome opportunities to write about these amazing individuals and all their accomplishments. And I was just telling somebody before, every year at the press conference at the Hall of Fame, NASJA is not there. And to me, that's like, we're not there. We're the writers of the industry, and we're not supporting at that very basic level of that press conference. And, I think that's a huge missed opportunity. Every year, 8 to 9 fresh stories that wrap you into the generational ties of our industry, that transport you back to a place in time. We recently just had the 20th anniversary of the 2002 Olympics. That, for me, I fed off that anniversary in so many different ways with my stories. Amazing. All of those things keep happening. They're syndrical, and they're important. This year, the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame, along with ISHA and NASJA, is in Park City. Next year, we're in Lake Placid. Wow, what a great opportunity that's going to be. So really, I'm just here to say, look, these stories are there, the people and their accomplishments are there, and there's a lot to say and talk about and show off about that. And I think us as an organization, it's important that we really put our flag in the ground and be the leaders and the spearhead in that. In that we're also, these 3 organizations have now, quote unquote, survived. And we're now moving forward. The hall with that donation last night, $1 million to the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame from the Perkins. It's a great story. It was a creative donation. It's securing the legacy of the hall. And the instant impact was a new roof. So, real impact, real people. The idea that we got a donation before 2 people that really cared about the hall passed, that they're here to be appreciated for it. And of course, anybody you think that should be nominated, the application is right there at skihall.com. So I'm a big fan of NASJA. You know, I think support the awards, continue to talk to anybody who will listen to join on the resort side and the media side. It isn't always about what the organization can do for you. I always tell them it's what you can do for us. Turn that around on them. You know, say, hey, we need you. And we all know people. We can probably think of 5, 6 people off the top of our heads that have dropped out. And I usually call them and say, come on, like, the dues aren't going to break you, right? But not having the organization would. So I think our job of being proactive with the resorts, with the communication director position has really changed. The PR position has really changed at these resorts. I think getting in there and communicating with them is so important. So thanks for my 2 minutes, and appreciate everybody. Thanks.
Dave's kind of had a perspective on all aspects, I guess, of the industry. You've worked at ski areas, you've worked on the association side, and now you're on the publishing side. So he's got a great, whatever we call it, 30,000-foot view of the industry, and that's what he's going to give us today. Thank you.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. All right. Good morning. Yeah, good morning. Like Bob said, I'm Dave Meeker. I'm the editor for S.A.M magazine, also known as Ski Area Management. We have another publication called Adventure Park Insider, which is the business for the aerial adventure industry. So zip lines, ropes courses, things like that. But S.A.M has been in publication for more than 60 years. And we are proud to be an independent resource for operators of the North American ski areas. We have subscribers all over the world, but most of our coverage is in North America. Forgive me, I'm going to have to reference my screen here every once in a while to make sure I'm on track. Like Bob said today, my aim is to provide you guys with kind of a 30,000-foot view of kind of the health of the industry, perhaps provide you some general ideas of some stories to look out for as we approach the winter, and maybe not at specific resorts, but just some trends and things that we're seeing as an industry resource. And it's great to be back here in Boston for this ski show. This is always considered the kickoff to the winter season, and with good reason. And a lot of the excitement that is generated from this show, it's not just from the attendees that come here and the ski areas that are here, it's the coverage that you guys provide for what you learn during the days that you're here. Because I mean, a lot of ski country, including here in the Northeast, just saw our first flakes of the season. And that in and of itself generates excitement. And so there is baked in interest right now in content for skiing and snowboarding and snow sports in general. And so I think it's important for you guys to take what you've learned here and feed that demand for content having to do with snow sports, because there is an interest in it right now. And also your time and your is in high demand from PR folks at ski areas, from products that have to do with snow sports and everything. So it's a great time to be a ski writer at this moment. So take advantage of that. Get those words out there and get your bylines out there. And there's a lot of good stuff to talk about. Before we start talking about this coming season, I want to touch on what happened last season. As many of you are aware, it was a record-breaking ski season for U.S. ski areas. We had 65.4 million. Yep, 65.4 million skier visits, which just obliterated the previous record that was set the year before of 60.7. A lot of that growth happened in the West, in the Rocky Mountains, Pacific Southwest, even Pacific Northwest. The East did grow, I think it was 4.5% in skier visits, despite our lackluster snow year. So that's a testament to the demand of skiing and snowboarding right now, and to the ability of ski areas to make snow, an incredible amount of snow, and a high quality product, even when the weather doesn't necessarily cooperate. So that seems to be momentum that's carrying forward to this season. A lot of ski areas that we have spoken to, bless you, are seeing season pass numbers continuing to rise. They're seeing increased interest in the content that they're putting out there. And so it appears as though skiing and snowboarding is in pretty good shape right now, which is great news. So Like I said, the growth, a lot of that visitation growth was out west, of course, because they had just borderline disruptive snowfall out there. But it kept ski areas open longer. It made a lot of headlines, so a lot of people came out skiing and riding, even if they hadn't in a few years. Here, all that growth, most of that growth was in large and extra large ski areas. A concerning trend is, according to the Kaki report, which is a big end of season survey from the National Ski Areas Association, the visitation to smaller ski areas actually declined. It was the only only size that declined in visitation. So that is a concern, because I think we can all agree that the small ski areas are the lifeblood of our industry. And so while you're looking for content this winter, consider how you can cover smaller ski areas, because oftentimes they are independently owned. They are a huge part of their local communities, and there's a lot of stories there. Maura knows a lot about this. She's written a lot about small ski areas for us, and there's some fascinating stories there. But the one thing is they don't have the PR machine that a lot of the larger ski areas do, so you do kind of have to hunt those stories down, because you're not being fed it. But something to consider as you look forward to the season and to support those smaller ski areas. Yeah, Jay. Hey, Jay.
What is the demarcation between large, extra large, and small in the industry standard? Just so that some of us,
Yeah, it's an excellent question. So the way NSAA defines ski area sizes, it's small, medium, large, and extra large, and that is measured by vertical transport feet per hour. So it's basically your uphill capacity. And there's a whole formula. I actually wrote it down. I was hoping somebody was going to ask that. Let's see if I can find it. It is, so, forgive me. Yeah, words people. We're words people, not math people. So the way you get vertical transport feet per hour is you multiply vertical rise in feet by the lift capacity per hour. So every lift has a per hour uphill capacity per person, people per hour. And then you divide that by 1,000. Simple, right? So small ski areas are 3,000 vertical transport feet per hour and below. And I know extra large ski areas are 12,000 vertical transport feet per hour and above, and medium and large are in between there. So at one point, the measurement was by skier visits, but I feel like for small, medium, large, extra large, but I think that measurement was proven to be not very accurate, because what you might think of as a smaller ski area, like Wachusett Mountain here in Massachusetts, for example, does almost 400,000 skier visits. So that would be considered, in the old math, probably borderline a large ski area. But of course, by definition, it really isn't. So yeah, good question. So and it's those small to medium-sized ski areas, the ones that have probably about 6,000 vertical transport feet per hour or below, that saw a huge boom during COVID because nobody could travel. But since travel has reopened, they are not seeing that sustainable levels of visitation. And the Midwest and the Southeast, according to the Kaki report, are the only two regions that had declines in visitation. And that is home to mostly small and medium-sized ski areas. So again, something to consider for your coverage, just to give those places some love and tell their story so that more people are aware of them.
Do you have a breakdown of resorts that are affiliated with mega passes?
I don't. There is that, not offhand, but there. Yeah, Stuart has an excellent resource for that. Yeah, he has all sorts of spreadsheets for that stuff. Yeah, but they're all there. And I guess also, what do you guys consider mega passes? Obviously, Epic, Icon.
Epic, Icon, Mountain Collective, and honestly, India at this point.
Right? Isn't that interesting that India is now considered a mega pass?
Over 100 resorts now.
Yeah.
183
Yeah.
include cross country and affiliates as opposed to signing.
I mean, there may be no weather also. People should be looking at the signs.
Yeah, and that's tough. So
But then again, should not the parameter be how many people actually have the pass to determine whether or not it's an Uber pass or not?
yeah, it could be
Have you got an
because
industry breakdown of how many people have each pass this year?
that numbers aren't shared specifically. Usually, it is because it's public. Yeah, they share that at their in their Q4 results, but Altera is not at liberty to share that information. And so but also, you consider other passes like Ski Cooper, for example, in Colorado is a smaller ski area there, but has worked for 20 plus years developing relationships with other ski areas across the country for reciprocal benefits. So its season pass holders have 3 free days at something like 60 other mountains.
Wow. But they've been cut from that because of
The indie partners that are on Ski Cooper, yeah, but Monarch in Colorado has a huge reciprocal program. I mean, you look at a lot of other ski areas. Yeah, even Wachusett. I mean, there are so many different ski areas that have reciprocal benefits, and it's it's an awesome thing. It's good value add for their skiers and for their pass holders, for their most loyal guests. So that's a pretty neat thing.
Thank the 10th Mountain Division folks for pioneering that at Cooper.
Yeah, nice, very good. Yeah, so that skier visits is oftentimes the metric that we use to measure industry success. I don't think it is the best metric because to me, we could have the same number of participants every year, but they just go more often. Okay, so industry growth to me, industry health to me is the number of individual participants that we have. And last year was the first year that more than 11 million Americans participated in skiing and snowboarding. We had 11.6 unique participants last year, 11.6 million participants, which is a fantastic indicator of industry health generally. And so that means there's more people interested in what you guys are writing about, and there's more eyes on that. And so take full advantage. Yes?
I do better with words than numbers. I'm a writer.
Yeah.
So there were 65 million visits.
65.4 million skier visits. Yes.
So can you extrapolate that people skied 4 days? Some people skied an average of 4 days.
Yeah, there was in the Cocky report there is an average there.
Is there any number that people with the mega passes ski more than everybody else?
I don't know that specifically. Yeah, there probably is data out there for that, and you can probably do a little bit of math. Just I know word people, math people. So there are ways to probably figure that out. And but one item in the Cocky report that I'm recalling is that pass holders did not use their passes according to the folks the ski areas that reported to the survey. The number of skier days was down slightly from the year before, and our number of participants was up. So that's a good example of we have more participants, and it's not necessarily people who are already committed skiers and riders using their passes more.
Do you guys have statistics on how many of these skiers have more than one pass?
I don't. Yeah. Season passes are of interest to you guys, huh? I'm seriously, is that like that's a topic that is of interest to your readers?
It is to ours.
Yeah, same with everybody.
Okay. Over about 80% of our readers have multiple passes.
Yeah, gotcha. Like Epic and Indie, Icon Indie, local. Yeah.
Or usually local and a major.
Okay, gotcha. Very good. Yeah, that makes good sense. I mean, the value is there.
And Indie Pass became super popular. In fact, Doug Fish is a member of our site.
Nice.
And we had some conversations in our living room with him about what he was doing when he first started. And but yeah, we've had some polls on our site of how many passes different members have, and 80% have more than one pass, and I would say probably 30% of those have 3 or more passes.
Wow. So those are real committed folks.
Yeah.
So those are people that spend a lot of time doing it. And so that's one of the things that I also wanted to talk to you guys about is, yeah. And so there is, like we said, a very healthy population of skiers and riders right now. couple of concerning trends for the industry as of late is that the overall affluence of our average guest is rising, and the average age is also rising. And so the demographic buckets of whether it's the 12 to 24 or however NSAA actually separates these demographic sections, it's the younger demographic is still, I think it's the 18 to 24 constitutes the largest, but it is not increasing. So it's actually going down, but it's still the largest cohort within our demographic group. However, it is the participant age is getting higher, which is not ideal. Are you guys seeing similar in Quebec, Eve? Yeah.
Well, I'm looking at the path that's really selling, and we're still having the majority of our buyers, it's 30 to 50 years old.
Yeah.
But I don't know for the other resorts.
Do you think part of that is there's so many sports that are pulling young people in different directions?
There are any number of reasons, but part of it.
Where people are able to ski later into their years.
Mm-hmm. That is true as well. And so there's plenty of theories as to why that's happening. But since COVID, one of the things that happened in COVID, ski areas moved mostly to private lessons because they couldn't have big groups of people together, right? And private lessons, of course, traditionally are a lot more expensive. It's a better experience. You get more personalized attention and everything like that. But it also, for the folks that just want to try it, that just want to show up to a ski area, buy a lift ticket, and go take a lesson, that cost can be prohibitive.
Well, you hit on it right there. I mean, I think as journalists, we need to bring up the point that the walk-up ticket is too expensive, and that we're discounting to the core user. And therefore, not only can the walk-up person not afford a lift ticket, but they can't afford a lesson either. So we're turning our back on trial. Something that NSAA did for decades, trial and retention. The whole industry has walked away from it and discounted to the core market. And as journalists, all I hear is people praising these passes. Meanwhile, the poor bastard that drove 5 hours with his 6 kids or 4 kids at the ticket window got told by the ticket window person, it's a shame you didn't book online.
Yeah.
You just, because you can't get the discount today that I would have given you yesterday. So customer service is all turned upside down.
Yeah.
And I think as journalists, we're missing the boat for not calling them out on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think clearly there's a concern among everybody in this room that we're cannibalizing the future to boost the present. And, we talk a lot about diversity, and there has been a lot of progress in that area. But, people on the lower end of the economic scale are getting the message, I think, at $300 for a day ticket that you're not welcome here. I don't think there's any other way to interpret it. So I think that's something that we need to address.
Agreed.
I think that's the place where the small and medium-sized resorts can really be, push their efforts in.
That's exactly it.
Absolutely, but if the Indy Pass is not supporting the local areas and maybe even cutting into their profitability, that's an issue we need to address also.
And NSAA acknowledges this issue. It says, while lessons are an important contributor to ski area profit margins, they're an equally important component to the long-term health of the industry by introducing people to snow sports. So we need to continue efforts to regain participation in lessons because, again, the share of group lessons to private lessons is now there's a move more toward private lessons than there are group lessons because they're a more profitable product and people are paying for them now, so the demand is there.
I would actually say that another huge problem is that even group lessons are completely unaffordable these days. So I've actually started planning some trips with some of my friends, and I've had like a bunch of them drop out because even if you buy like an Epic Day Pass, if we're going to Keystone, it's like $230 for even the cheapest group lesson for 3 hours. It's completely insane.
Yeah, and
if we wanted to go to like Vail or like Deer Valley, don't even like tell me about it.
Oh yeah, and that's where the small and medium-sized ski areas come in because they certainly have more affordable programs.
There's a lot of places.
We need more programs like the Baby Wood program at Ragged.
Is everybody familiar with that? What Ragged does?
Oh my God. So they didn't do it on weekends last year, but they started it before the pandemic, and it's named after this woman who, I think she passed away last year. She skied at 11 years old in Baby Wood. And it's incredible. You have to be a first timer, skiing or snowboarding. You get 3 2-hour group lessons completely free, including brand new rental equipment. When you complete the 3 2-hour lessons, you get a season's pass. Last year's price was $25 for the rest of the year, and you can buy the equipment you learned on at a steeply discounted price. And they've sustained it for 5, 6, 7 years.
Oh, yeah, it's been so successful, you know,
Yeah.
that they've,
I tell everyone.
they've
when
had
they
to
say-
limit, you know, participants because
Yeah.
it just took over.
Yeah, it fills up early. Every time I meet people who say, my kids wanna learn to ski, but we can't afford it, I'm like, here's your solution, and I hear from them all. They go, and they have a lot of data if you talk to them. Sorry to hijack your talk, but they have data to show how many of them become actual skiers and snowboarders and go on to buy full passes and live the life. It's really phenomenal.
You sent that around through NASJA?
No.
What's the name of
Of course,
the?
I think we did a story on it when it first came out. I'll
So-
send you guys some links to some
Yeah.
stuff. It's really cool.
So Palisades Tahoe does that same type of program, and it's called the Perfect Progression. And again, they sign up, and I was just trying to look it up online. But they, I think it's 3 lessons, and it costs like $600, and it's 3 lessons. It includes meals, it includes the rental equipment, and if you complete all 3 lessons, then you get a season pass at Palisades Tahoe.
It's brilliant.
And that's a bigger resort. Yeah. You know, so it's nice to see some of the big resorts doing stuff like that as well.
Absolutely.
But you have to be a never ever, you know, so there's that. But we also, one of our 2 passes that we have is at Mount Rose Ski Tahoe. And I love that they have programs like the ladies program is $49 lift ticket, and it includes the lift ticket for all day. It's a 3-hour group lesson. And if you're a pass holder, you can just go sign up for free and enjoy things that are get on the hill. Because if you got mom on the hill, you got the family on the hill, right? So, but that's a case where a smaller resort is doing it. But again, I'm really tickled that Palisades is doing it,
Yeah,
because that's a
terrific.
big deal.
Yeah.
So.
And that's another good story angle too, is the value products, you know, in answer to the expensive day ticket rate. A lot of ski areas are coming out with value products. Some have night skiing, and there's some big ski areas that offer night skiing for like $19. You know, midweek skiing is super affordable relative to peak days and everything. So there's all these different products that are out there that, you know, just need to get more coverage and more publicity because.
I didn't really know until even I talked to like Brian last year. It's like in New York State, 3rd and 4th grade, completely free as an adult. And nobody really knows about that.
Yeah.
In Vermont, it's free in 5th grade,
Yeah.
which is incredible.
Yeah.
But nobody really knows that. And I think the other issue is when I talked to Brian, we thought you had to be a Vermont resident to get the passport, but you don't. Anybody can get it. Yeah, which is amazing.
Yeah, 10 states.
Yeah.
10
So-
states in the U.S. do it, and you don't have to be a resident.
Yes.
Utah does it.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
And I don't think we talk about that enough because parents don't know that.
Yeah.
And that's a huge.
Couple days a week.
Yeah.
And the ski shop should be made aware of this.
I
because
agree.
we're renting skis to
Right.
families every day.
Yeah.
And they have no idea. And
No idea.
Roswell is doing a program where they give you 7
Yeah.
single day lift tickets for any Roswell product. that you
Yeah.
find.
It's great.
And that's a great deal.
Yeah.
You pay the parent ticket, and the kids go free because we used that when my kids were younger, and we went to Gore and
Yeah,
used
we
it,
went
and
to
the
Gore
kids-
too.
The kids were both free under that age group. New York's $31. and they used to give a physical card, so they had their little card and did it.
But
yeah,
I mean, it's
Connecticut
everything. I mean, you
has a
can go to
few-
Killington, you can go to Stowe, you can go to Gore. I mean, and we took advantage of that last year. Yeah, I think it's a huge, huge miss because then you're getting 3 full years of free, basically lessons for your children. I mean, well, I mean, you pay for the lessons, but you're getting these lift tickets, so that's a huge expense. And now my son, you know, he's in 6th grade now. He's an incredible skier, and I attribute a lot of that to lessons. I mean, we skied a lot during COVID, but we took advantage of all 3 years of that. And I'm sad that a lot of people don't know that because I think that's a huge hurdle that we get a lot more parents and the younger kids out there a lot more.
Yeah. That's terrific.
People are gonna have their kids have to repeat the grades.
Yeah. I wish. I told Max he's gonna have to. He had to fail. He's in 5th grade continuously.
The other thing is the recreation department. Like I grew up, that's how I learned to skate. Our school bus brought us after school to the local ski mountain. And my parents paid like rentals, we had season rentals, lift tickets. And up until COVID, the school still did it. The recreation departments now went back to parent driving, which then loses a lot of kids when parents are working and doing that. But it's the amount of recreation departments partnering up with the local mountains and getting that. But I will say since COVID, the price definitely doubled, if not went into like the 75% markup for the same program. So like it was great for getting people local, but it's lost a lot of kids due to the pricing.
Interesting. So I would say one positive byproduct of the great business that ski areas have been doing as of late is the amount of capital improvements that have been made over the last couple of years. In fact, this past summer was by far a record in spending for capital improvements. In the U.S., capital expenditures was a record $818 million. And just about a third of that was in lift improvements. So we just got our lift construction survey index back from all the manufacturers, and a total of 58 new lifts were built in North America this year, new ropeways. So, and there's probably an equal number of conveyor lifts that were built at ski areas, and of all sizes too. This isn't just the biggest ski areas building these multi-million-dollar lifts. Middlebury College Snowbowl was the only ski area in the state of Vermont this year to install a brand new lift. How cool is that?
Wow.
I mean,
Yes, surprising.
yeah.
So I did a survey of 1,000 women who ski this summer. It was exhaustive. We were primarily focused on childcare and group lessons. I'm really impressed with our response rate. 0.0% of them were interested in faster lifts. They were interested in infrastructure to help families, specifically childcare at mountains. We've seen women's participation dip from 40% to 37%. It's not going in the right direction. So not only are you getting older skiers, it's predominantly men. And the reason they're not going is because they cannot. They do not want to get stuck in the lodge watching kids while everybody else goes out to ski. And we did not see, other than Steamboat, which did put in a massive childcare center, there's very little money going into family resources. Steamboat did it, and they're having a huge payoff with staff retention, with families going to use that resource. And I interviewed, in addition to the 1,000 women, we did 30 short form interviews where I spent about a half an hour talking to these women. They've got money, that what they don't have is time, and they are not going to sit in a lodge. They're going to do other things in the winter. So that is the problem.
Yeah, it's an excellent point.
And if anybody, I have the results. If anybody wants to interview me, I have a very long set of data from that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Can I say one thing about Middlebury really quick? I met them last night.
Yeah.
All of their magic carpets are free. You can go on any of them. You don't need a lift ticket. And I thought that was pretty cool.
That is
So,
cool. And they just
public.
regraded their,
too, we just learned. I didn't realize that.
as part of that capital, they regraded their beginner slope and everything. And that's actually a lot of what we're seeing too, is a lot of ski areas are realizing that their learning terrain is not great to learn on. You know, so they're putting these brand new folks on this terrain that's way too steep, way too narrow, and far from bathrooms, and they're actually getting out there with machinery and regrading their slopes. Stratton Mountain in Vermont did that this year, added a bunch of new carpets, relocated some existing carpets, and regraded their their learning area, which is remarkable.
To the 2 points that these ladies have back here about moms not wanting to go sit in the lodge and also the school programs. When I lived in Michigan, my nephew went to a small little church school and they were losing the person that was in charge of their ski program. So I stepped up and we took the kids for $15 a kid. They got rental equipment. They got 1 free lesson their first time out and their day ticket for $15. And we didn't have a bus, so we had volunteer moms driving these kids. And they'd bring crock pots of chili and whatever for the lodge. And one day, Pete Meyer, who's the son of the owner of Cabernet Peak, said, why are all these moms sitting in the lodge? And I said, well, they don't know how to ski and they're driving the kids out here. And he said, well, we need to get them on the snow. He said, for every parent that drives, we will give them their day for free. So he got these moms on snow and they all got a free lesson and free rental equipment and a free ticket if they drove the kids out there. And the following weekend, I was out skiing and one of the families was there, and it was because mom learned how to ski.
That's awesome. Very cool.
So I have an idea. If we're here to support the ski industry, and if we see this down the road problem kind of boiling, and if affordability is a big part of it, then if we all this winter focus on trying to do 1, 2, 3 things that publicize the Middlebury Snow Bowl free, whatever, at the end of the season, maybe for the next season, we should create a portal with a clever name that people know they can go and click on to learn about everything free or everything discounted. Just a thought.
The programs are out there, people just don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's make a place where they one-stop shopping for them all.
Yeah.
If we all write about it all winter, it'll be done.
You know what I heard for the first time last night was Burke Mountain in Vermont with its Wicked Wednesday deal. 3 tickets for $45.
It's nuts.
By the way, all NASJA members should have gotten a press release from me yesterday about King Pine deals.
Nice, there you go. Good. Nicely done. How are we doing for time? Okay. What's my my cutoff? Okay. All right.
Do you have a stat, by the way, Dave, on the decline of the lessons? Do we know that as cocky?
So lessons as a share of visits was actually up, but I guess the one thing that was pointed out is the privates versus groups. So it is recovering. The number of lessons is recovering from COVID, but it's still well below the 10-year average. So we're on our way back, but it's a slow uprise. Yeah.
What I'm seeing from this group and from the instructors groups and the retail groups is that it's isolated information. And does NASJA, wouldn't it be interesting to have NASJA present at the NSAA annual meeting a seminar called What We're Hearing? And so it can transfer that information to the operators or the owners of the big mountains or all the mountains that are going to be there.
That would be, it's not a bad idea. I mean, Kelly Pollack's here. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, good. You're absolutely right. I agree. Okay. Anything else on lessons and visits? You guys have any other? Because there's other stuff I was going to say, and I mentioned chairlifts just because that part of that big number for capital expenditures, just because that's usually the sexiest thing that ski areas install and everything. But there have been several lodge improvements this year, new infrastructure, lodge expansions, things like that. I'm not sure specifically about childcare facilities, but in years past we have reported on some ski areas. I think it was Bristol Mountain in New York completely redid its childcare facility and expanded it. So there are ski areas that are working on that. It's just not unfortunately, as big of a focus because, an interesting example, and this is kind of tangential, but the ski areas often want to invest in those sexy infrastructure improvements, right? Chairlift is a good example. Big new snow guns are a good example. As a former PR person, I love talking about that stuff. But other ski areas now are also investing in new maintenance shops for their mountain ops teams, which is a huge investment. I mean, there's the Hermitage Club in Vermont, kept their costs low down to $1 million, but installed this new maintenance shop that is 5,000 square feet, and before the maintenance team was working in 500 square feet, and digging a hole in the mud so they can get underneath their snowcats to work on them, and that then translates having a new maintenance shop translates to an improved guest experience because everything will just work better. You retain talented people in your mechanics and electricians and people like that when they have a good facility to work at. Pat's Peak just built a brand new one. Quechee Club, there's all these smaller ski areas that are investing in their teams, which, as a PR person, I'm not going to, be singing from the hilltops of like, hey, we're building a new maintenance shop. It's going to be awesome. It has a lift our cats up. Guests don't really care as much about that, but that does translate into an improved guest experience because the machines work better, the people that work on the machines are still there, all of that stuff. So it's interesting to see what ski areas are investing their capital into, not just the sexy, lifts and snowmaking and things like that. So again, something to keep an eye out for, just these things. I mean, I feel like I have a pretty good finger on the pulse of what a lot of the resorts in North America are doing as far as capital goes, but I'm learning all sorts of stuff that I had no idea. And a lot of that is because, we can't pay attention to every single thing, but that's the thing. That's why we have our collective group, is because, we have a lot of ears to get out there and, listen and ask and see what ski areas are doing that our readers might care about. So, yeah, I think that's a really cool thing to satisfy your curiosity, because if you see a void in something, it's almost a guarantee that some ski area out there, or several ski areas, also see that void and are investing money to try and fix that. So, just explore that. But of course, most of the headlines that we see are, the ski area that's building a new 8-passenger chairlift or a giant tram or, things like that, which is totally kick-ass. That's a pretty cool thing to, build and to improve upon the guest experience and everything. But anyway, one other thing that I wanted to touch on real quick that is of interest generally is sustainability. And last night we heard a lot of the ski area representatives talk about their sustainability efforts. And so when I say sustainability, what comes to mind? What is sustainability for a ski area? Right.
How you fuel the place. Where does your electricity come from? How are you running your lifts?
Yeah. So a lot of it has to do with like climate, environmental, right?
Recycling.
Hand in hand with that is business sustainability. So, and especially for ski areas that rely on Mother Nature for their primary business, those two go hand in hand, business sustainability and environmental sustainability. And there's a few great examples. Like J-Peak just installed a super smart propane boiler with software that was developed by a company here in Massachusetts that is going to save the resort something like 250,000 gallons of propane a year. And this is just $1 million investment, and just net savings of about $200,000 a year. And that reduces the amount of particulates going into the air because it is electrified. It switches from electronic to propane. Anyway, it's a whole complicated thing. But the neat things like that, Mount Bachelor out in Oregon is installing this massive state-of-the-art biomass boiler that's utilizing slash from wildfire management practices of the nearby national forest to burn as its fuel to heat all of the space area buildings. All of that slash would have been burned in open fire piles, which obviously is not good for the environment. This will be filtered and it'll be utilized as a renewable resource.
Yeah, these are tremendous advances on behalf of individual companies and individual mountains. But one of the real anomalies that exists, not just in skiing, but in many other industries, is support for candidates and politicians who eventually end up in legislative positions,
Mm-hmm.
who are getting money because of what they can do on the economic side, who are actually climate change deniers.
Mm-hmm.
That's an issue that John Fry frequently would bring up. And it's any thoughts as to whether there are any real answers to how to deal with that?
So advocacy is something that has been increasing industry-wide. NSAA works really hard. They spend a lot of time on Capitol Hill and talk with representatives to try and push through bills that have environmental and climate change aspects to them. Yeah, so that is a big thing. And individual resorts and resort companies are doing the same. They're going to Capitol Hill, but they're also banding together. An interesting event just happened 2 weeks ago in Vail. It's I think it's called the Mountain Communities Summit, something along those lines. And it is a collaboration between Vail Resorts, Alterra, Powder, and Boyne Resorts. And more than 500 people came to this from 40 some odd mountain communities from around the world to discuss things that they can do and to put resources toward efforts that for mountain towns and ski areas in particular to operate more sustainably and more efficiently. And so when they can do something, when they try these ideas and everything, and they document it, and then they share that that information so it's replicable for other ski areas to do. So there's efforts like that where competitors are getting together, recognizing the issue, and are coming up with greater solutions.
Absolutely, but of course, one Speaker of the House can undo all of the great things that are going on.
Yeah, I wish there was a,
Let's not end on that.
So,
Let's send them money either.
another cool trend for you guys to pay attention to that would be of interest is, there's a lot of talk about the electrification of our just cars and transportation in general. Ski areas are starting to electrify their snow vehicle fleets.
Killington has a substantial installation of charging, which I learned about at Ski Vermont event the other night in New York City. Most ski areas have at least a Tesla charger, which is now becoming the industry standard. Remember back in the day when there was priority parking? A long time ago, there was priority parking for people with more than one passenger in a car. If you were car sharing, now then it was priority parking for hybrids. Now it is priority parking for electric vehicles.
Yeah.
So the automotive industry is merging with the ski industry to provide perks.
Yeah.
And many luxury hotels have charging stations.
Yeah.
So it's all encouraging non-polluting vehicular traffic.
And that's happening on hill too. The first 3 all-electric grooming machines from Prinoth are being delivered to the U.S. this year.
There's a lot more electrification than there's electric tractors out there.
Electric snowmobiles, electric
and
front
snowmobiles,
loaders, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so that is all coming into play as resorts look to operate more sustainably. I think my time is up. Yeah. Thank you guys. Be in touch if you have any questions.